This is where the flame of liberty burns bright. This is the Jason Veely Program.
Hello, and welcome to the Jason Veely Program. I am Jason Veely. 1 hour of kick-ass conservative radio coming at you. If you'd like to get in touch with me, folks, the email address, jasonveelyradio@gmail.com. That's JAYSONVELEY radio@gmail.com. Let me ask you liberals a question. Yes, you liberals, I'm starting with you tonight. Let me ask you a question. You ready? What is a sanctuary city? What is a sanctuary city? Now, since this is recorded and since I know you can't technically respond to me right here in the moment, I'm forced to assume how you'd respond to that question. I'm assuming you'd say something along the lines of, a sanctuary city is where illegals can live without the fear of being deported. Isn't that pretty much what you'd say? Do I have that about right? I mean, look, I've been dealing with liberals for most of my life. I think I know them by this point. And I think that if they were asked to define a sanctuary city in one sentence, they would say it's where illegals can live without the fear of being deported. And maybe they throw in some other stuff about tolerance and diversity and all the rest. I'm pretty sure that's what they would say, folks. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. Here's my definition of a sanctuary city. Here's how I define it. The radical right-wing conservative. Yes, here's how I define it. Isn't a sanctuary city simply pockets of the United States where the rule of law doesn't apply? Isn't that what sanctuary cities are? Pockets of the United States where the rule of law does not apply. That's what a sanctuary city is. It's where people who came into this country illegally, regardless if they have a criminal background, regardless if they're smuggling drugs into the country, they can go to these cities and they don't have to worry about law enforcement coming in and shipping their asses back to where they came from. Despite the fact that we have existing immigration law in this country. It's a place where the rule of law doesn't apply. It's a safe space. Oh yes, that's what they are. To use a liberal term, it's a safe space for illegal aliens. That's what a sanctuary city is. You look at the state of California. Do you realize that last year, California, they said, you know what? To hell with sanctuary cities, we're just going to become a sanctuary state. A sanctuary state, meaning the entire state is a sanctuary for illegal aliens. Thanks to that nut job governor over there. No offense, California. I mean, you have very, very pretty beaches. San Francisco was pretty great when I visited. Los Angeles was interesting. A little dirty, but interesting. But, I mean, politically speaking, your state is just going to hell. It really is. And it's because of the liberals that run it. It's because of people like your governor, Jerry Brown. Yes, Breitbart.com article from October 5 of last year. California officially became a sanctuary state for illegal aliens on Thursday with the stroke of a pen from Governor Jerry Brown. Senate Bill 54 will go into effect in January of 2018, meaning it's already in effect. Brown signed the bill entitled the California Values Act. Gee, isn't that just... I mean, if you didn't know that this was signed by a leftist, and you just said the phrase California Values Act, would you be able to still tell that it was signed by a leftist? Of course you would. California Values Act. And he released a signing statement. He explained what the bill does and does not do. According to Breitbart News, the bill prohibits local law enforcement. Now listen to this. It prohibits local law... This is how screwed up California is politically. The bill prohibits local law enforcement from asking about immigration status in the course of routine interactions and prohibits them from complying with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement detainer requests. That is ICE. So they cannot work with ICE. They cannot comply with existing federal immigration law in California. Law enforcement cannot ask people about their immigration status, even though it matters, even though many of the people in California are illegal. Because, it's right near the border and all. How absurd is that, ladies and gentlemen? This is California. It's a sanctuary state. It's a sanctuary state. The bill, now quoting from Governor Brown, the bill further directs our Attorney General to promulgate model policies for local and state health, education, labor, and judiciary officials who follow when they deal with immigration matters. The bill does not prevent or prohibit Immigration and Customs Enforcement or the Department of Homeland Security from doing their own work in any way. Yes, it does. Of course it does. They can't do their job. They can't do their job. How could they possibly do their job if local law enforcement are being instructed not to work with them? I realize that this article is a few months old, but I'm using it to make a point, folks. I'm using it to make a point. Because now, California's in the news again. Their immigration laws are in the news again. Why? Well, it's actually some good news. Orange County is fighting back against the state of California and saying, look, we are not going to follow these sanctuary laws. We're not going to have it. They're filing a lawsuit against California, and I applaud them for doing so. Take back your state, people of California. Take back your state. So they're basically saying, look, we're not going to comply with this. We're not going to comply. And the President of the United States is now on their side. He tweeted, my administration, this is a tweet from earlier today, this afternoon as a matter of fact. My administration stands in solidarity with the brave citizens in Orange County defending their rights against California's illegal and unconstitutional sanctuary policies. California's sanctuary laws release known dangerous criminals into communities across the state. All citizens have the right to be protected by federal law and strong borders. So the president's behind it. Good for him. I don't know why he's seems to be caving a little bit on DACA as of late, but good for him for backing Orange County here. And good for Orange County for standing up to its own state against, yes, these laws are unconstitutional and illegal. Yes, they are. I'll get more into that a little bit later on in the program. We're gonna really spend some time on this immigration issue tonight, folks. It's one of my it's an issue that I'm very, very passionate about for a number of different reasons, and since I've been back on the air, I haven't gotten a chance to speak about it, and this is the perfect opportunity considering what's happening in California right now. Trump's behind them. The administration is behind them. That's good. It's going to be an uphill battle. It's going to be an uphill battle. Townhall.com is reporting on how California's Attorney General responded to officials who are fighting the state's sanctuary laws. Townhall.com says California Attorney General Xavier Becerra, or might be Becerra, is considering taking action against officials who are fighting the state's sanctuary city laws. Well, of course. Of course. They start to fight back, and here comes the iron boot of the government saying, no, you can't do this. We have the final say here. We're going to lay down the line. We don't want... It's just so ironic because these are the people in Orange County who are fighting to have the law enforced. And then we have people like the Attorney General in California and the Governor in California who are fighting to have the law not enforced. It's just such a strange situation. In a news conference, the Attorney General said, quote, state law is state law. It's my job to enforce state law, and I will do so. I want to make sure that every jurisdiction, including Orange County, understands what state law requires of the people and the subdivisions of the state of California. See, this is just how absurd this is. He's talking about state law here when the state law is to not follow the law. How dumb are these people? State law is to not follow the law. And we're going to uphold that law to not follow the law. The hell is going on in your state, California? Becerra was then asked if that meant an arrest or lawsuit against a sheriff who announced her department would skirt state laws and help immigration and customs enforcement by publishing the dates inmates would be released through an online database called Who's in Jail. His response, I think I just answered that. Yes, how dare Orange County actually help federal immigration enforcement, law enforcement? How dare they? Oh my God, it's just so unconscionable, isn't it? So terrible. So terrible. By the way, he didn't answer that, even though he said he did. Oh, I think I just answered that. No, you didn't. Are they going to be arrested for not following this law that bans the law? Or are they going to have a lawsuit against them in Orange County? I mean, what's going to be the punishment? What are you going to do? We'll just have to wait and see. We'll continue following this story, folks. I just think it's interesting. It's going to be an uphill battle. It really is. I'm proud of what Orange County is doing. I'm happy to see that the President of the United States is standing behind them. But it's going to be an uphill battle. It's going to be tough. But these are the battles worth having, aren't they? These are the battles worth having. This is about so much more, really, folks, than immigration. This is about the future of our country. These sanctuary cities, aka pockets of the country where the rule of law doesn't apply, they exist all over the damn country. All over the country. There's plenty in my own state right here in Connecticut, where the rule of law just simply doesn't exist. It's thrown out the window. It's discarded by the left. And I don't know how they can justify doing that, but they do it. These are the battles we need to have. These are the battles that we need to have. I started this segment out by asking a question. I want to wrap it up by asking a question. I want you to really think about this. And I'm going to come back to this topic after the commercial break. What is a nation without immigration laws? What is a nation without immigration laws? First of all, it's worth mentioning that we do have immigration laws. The problem is they're not being enforced. They're not being enforced. That's the problem here. If the laws were enforced, there really wouldn't be an issue. We actually have good immigration laws. Despite all these sanctuary cities and the liberals and their policies and so on and so forth, we have good immigration laws in this country. That's why I don't understand these liberal Democrats and even some Republicans saying we need immigration reform, as if something's wrong with our immigration system. No, it's not. Our immigration system is fine. It just needs to be enforced. It just needs to be enforced. That's the problem. Our immigration system isn't suddenly broken because illegal aliens are coming into the country. We fix the problem of illegal aliens coming into the country. We don't fix our immigration laws. That's ridiculous. But back to this question, folks. What is a nation without immigration laws? What is a nation that doesn't enforce their immigration laws? I mean, isn't that just chaos? Isn't that just anarchy? It's chaos. In a nation that doesn't exist, enforce their immigration laws. How do they know who's coming in? How do they know who's coming in? How do they know whether people coming over the border are going to assimilate into our country, are going to contribute to our society, or if they're going to become criminals and kill innocent people? Kate Steinle comes to mind. How do we know? We simply do not know who's coming into our own country. if we don't have immigration laws? How do we know who's going to be violent and who's not going to be violent without some kind of processing system? When people are just coming over the border illegally, that's not organization. There's no structure to that whatsoever. That's disorder. That's chaos. That's absolute chaos. And the reason I'm so passionate about this, folks, is because this directly affects the lives of innocent people. It puts them in harm's way. It puts them in harm's way. We don't know if these people coming over the border are violent or nonviolent. I'm sure many of them are nonviolent, by the way. But that doesn't excuse it. We know that there are still violent people coming over the border illegally. The liberals apparently don't care. They have no interest in checking that out, looking into that. No, just come on into my sanctuary city, they say. Just come on in. A nation without immigration laws. How do we know who's contributing? How do we know who's going to contribute? At least if we had immigration laws, then there would be some kind of vetting system. Some way for us to determine whether or not the people coming into this country are going to contribute. Without immigration laws, there's no way to know. There's absolutely no way to know, folks. And if I shouldn't really have to explain the problem with a bunch of people coming into this country who become parasites, who just live off the federal government, a.k.a. the taxpayers, a.k.a. me and you. I mean, that is a big problem. We want people who will contribute to our society. We want people who will be nonviolent, who will be peaceful, who will assimilate, who will love America. We want the best and the brightest. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. So again, folks, I'm going to take a break in a minute. I want to congratulate Orange County for what they're doing. I want to congratulate them. You know, that state, California, they've been circling the drain for quite some time now. And it's not just on the issue of immigration. It all ties in, doesn't it? It all kind of ties in. Just bad policy after bad policy. Liberal politician after liberal politician. They're driving that state to hell. And it really is a shame because, as I said, California, look, other than their politics, I like California. I visited. It's a pretty state. And it's a shame to see it go down the drain at the hands of the left. Good job, Orange County. Keep up the fight. Thank you, Mr. President, for standing with Orange County. And for the rest of the citizens of California, I would encourage you to stand up as well. I would encourage you to demand that your governor put you first before these illegal aliens. After all, you are the American citizen. They work for you. The government works for you. Not for illegal aliens coming into this country, most of whom we have no idea who they are. They work for you. Fight back. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
If George Washington had a favorite radio program, this would be it. This is the Jason Bealey Program.
Who doesn't love some Motley Crue, huh, folks? Jason Bealey here. Thanks for sticking with me. Let me ask you another question. I'm sure many conservatives listening to the program will already know the answer to this one. Why do liberals always side with illegals over law enforcement? Have you noticed that? I mean, you got to be blind if you haven't noticed that. Do you understand that in this omnibus bill, this $1.3 trillion omnibus bill that was just passed, the Democrats included something that said that not a single ICE member, I guess you could say, could be hired for the rest of the year. Do you understand that? That was part of the bill. Not a single ICE employee can be hired. Not one more. They are done hiring for the time being because the liberals wanted that. So I ask again, why do they always side with the illegal aliens? Why are they always trying to create new sanctuary cities, trying to defend them at all costs? Why? I'll tell you exactly why. It's because they want the vote. Yeah, they want the vote. They want a new voting bloc. They are well aware that if they can successfully grant amnesty to the illegal aliens in this country, not just the dreamers, but all of them, all 11 million of them, they know that if they can successfully leave the border open and continue this flow of illegal aliens into this country, well, then that means more votes. Mark my words, mark my word, that is their end goal. Their end goal is to allow these people to vote. And who are they going to vote for? There might be some that vote Republican, but the majority of them are going to vote Democrat. Why? Because Democrats give them everything they want and the kitchen sink. Freebies, government handouts, welfare, health care, and on and on and on. And meanwhile, you have the liberals and the mainstream media simultaneously painting conservatives as racists and bigots and xenophobes and all the rest. And so, of course, the majority of these people would vote Democrat. These illegal aliens. The liberals are well aware of that. And so that's why they side with them at all costs. They side with them at all costs. Because they know that if they get this voting bloc, then conservatives really won't win another election for quite some time. They just won't have the numbers. They just will not have the numbers. So it's all about the vote. But I ask them, at what cost? At what cost? Well, less opportunity for American citizens. How about that? I mean, that's just simple. That's just basic economics, really. I mean, the more people you have, the less opportunity there is. Look at the state of California. You got people flooding in illegally because it's a sanctuary state, thanks to that dummy governor. Less opportunity for people who are there legally, citizens. Because now they have to compete with people who don't have a right to be in the state or the country in the first place. Drug cartels. Islamic extremists. Do you realize that ISIS has threatened to use America's lax immigration laws to come through the southern border? You realize that? They absolutely have. Drug cartels, violent extremists, creating a violent environment in California and especially along the southern states that border Mexico. Yeah. Bring on the violence. Liberals are okay with it because, well, maybe they can get that vote. Maybe they can win this next election if we just keep pressing for to give these people the ability to vote. And look, it's not like an overnight thing, and I think they realize that. It's not like they're going to suddenly, okay, let's give them the right to vote. But this push is going to gradually increase over the next few years, especially if amnesty is given to the illegal aliens in this country. They're going to push for them to vote. In many cases, they already are. And it's because they want basically to crush the Republicans in every single election from here on out. And they will if that happens. But again, at what cost? At the cost of the safety of the American people, at the cost of extremists potentially coming into this country, drugs, rapists. That's a wonderful thing. People who don't necessarily contribute to our country, people who don't assimilate. Wonderful thing, you liberals. That's wonderful. You sell out the entire damn country for the vote. Absolutely, to use a Hillary term, deplorable. I'll be right back. Folks, I don't know if I've ever told you this in my 515, maybe 16 episodes of radio that I've done over the past few years. My great-grandfather came on a boat to America from Sweden when he was just, I believe he was 2 years old. Might have been younger than that. But he came over in, I want to say the year was 1902, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but he was a young guy, and he came over to America with his family on a boat. And the journey, I mean, could you imagine going from Sweden to the United States on a boat back then? Must have taken months to get here. But he did it, and his family did it for opportunity. And unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but they did it for opportunity. They did it because they believed in the American dream, and they wanted to make something of their lives. And partially, ladies and gentlemen, this is another reason why I'm so infuriated and outraged at what the liberals are doing to the immigration system in this country. It's because we have people who came to this country, like my great-grandfather, like millions of others, and still are, by the way, coming into this country for a better life. They do it the right way, even though it might not be the quickest way. They do it the right way. They come here. They love America. They want to assimilate into our culture, into our society. They want to contribute to our society and make something of their lives. These are good people. These are patriots. These are the people that we should be celebrating. And the liberals basically say, screw those people. If you hopped over the border, maybe, settled in, Arizona or southern Texas, and, the mom popped out 2 or 3 babies. Everybody just stay here. That's why this is so sick to me, ladies and gentlemen. These people who don't do it the right way, come in through the back door, and they're treated like gods or something like that. For breaking the law. For illegally coming into this country. What a disgrace. What an insult to people like my great-grandfather and, again, millions of others who came here the right way. It's just absolutely sick. It's a horrible thing. It's a horrible thing. Let me lay out for you, ladies and gentlemen, just so it's on the record. And I actually wrote an article about this a couple years ago. What I would do. What I would do. To not relax, but to bolster America's immigration system. Again, I really do think many of our problems would be solved if we just followed existing law. But let me make a few suggestions on how we can, again, bolster our law and drive some of these illegal aliens out of the country. Not because we're bigots or xenophobes or because we hate them necessarily. It's because they're here illegally and we don't know who they are. And that's about it. Number 1, sanctuary cities should be outlawed. They should be outlawed. I wish the Republicans would introduce legislation that would outlaw sanctuary cities across the country. I wish a piece of legislation like that would pass. Because as it stands right now, like I said in the beginning of the show, these sanctuary cities are places where the rule of law doesn't apply. And in a society that is built on the rule of law, you can't have that. You can't have some places enforcing the law and other places not enforcing the law. A civil society cannot function that way. It can't happen. Either you follow the law or you don't. And so yes, I think sanctuary cities should be outlawed. Get rid of them. I would make it so that individuals would have to prove that they are citizens of the United States if they want to receive any kind of government handout. Any kind of subsidy, any kind of welfare, and so on and so forth. They have to prove that they're a citizen. If they're not a citizen, well, I'm sorry, you don't get anything. You can go back to where you came from. That's it. Now, some of you might be thinking this is cruel. It's really not cruel. What's cruel is what the liberals are doing to our immigration system and to the American people who are citizens, who are busting their ass every day, working for a living. That's what's cruel, what they're doing to the American citizen. I would enact strict penalties. Listen, you hear the phone in the background, by the way, folks. Nothing I could do about that. I'm sorry. I would enact strict penalties for those who are deported and try to get back into the country. Strict penalties. I don't know. That might mean 20 years in prison. Might mean 50 years in prison. But we have to send the message that you can't just get deported and then try to come back into the country. We have to cut that out. We have to make it known that we're not going to put up with that anymore. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, the last thing on my politically incorrect immigration list is build the damn wall. Build the wall, for God's sakes. You know, folks, on a side note, I really hope Trump gets this done. Not even just for our immigration system, but for his own political career. Because this was, I mean, the entire campaign, the entire Trump campaign was centered around, we're going to build the wall. Great, so get it done. Secure the border. I don't want to say I have doubts that he'll get it done, but I really do. Honestly. And it's not just him, by the way. It's not entirely his fault. In fact, it's mostly the fault of the spineless Republicans in Congress, Mitch McConnell, Paul Ryan, who I'm convinced at this point don't want to secure the border. It needs to be secure. We need the wall. We need other technologies at the southern border to ensure that this sort of this free flow of illegal aliens coming into this country doesn't happen anymore. Because eventually, folks, what's going to happen is we're going to wake up. We're going to scratch our heads and say, what the hell happened to this country? Not because we have people here who look different than we do, but because we have people here who have not assimilated, who don't respect our culture, and who don't, frankly, know what it means to be an American. That's what's going to happen. All right, folks, another quick break. Don't go anywhere. Stick with me. Back in a minute. Folks, if you think my proposal for immigration reform, if you want to call it that, is radical, you should see what Mexico does. You should see the laws that Mexico has in place for immigration. If I can get this article up here. It was from the Washington Times. It's actually an old article. It's from back in 2010. But they write, legislation that was signed in Mexico in April of 2000 mandates that federal, local, and municipal police cooperate with federal immigration authorities in that country in the arrests of illegal immigrants. Gee, how about that, huh, folks? I mean, it's literally the polar opposite of what the liberals are pushing for in this country. They don't want people to be allowed to cooperate with federal immigration authorities. And in Mexico, it's mandatory. You have to cooperate. Under the Mexican law, illegal immigration is a felony, punishable by up to 2 years in prison. Immigrants who are deported and attempt to re-enter can be imprisoned for 10 years. Visa violators can be sentenced to 6-year terms. Mexicans who help illegal immigrants are considered criminals. The law also says Mexico can deport foreigners who are deemed detrimental to, quote, economic or national interests, violate Mexican law, are not physically or mentally healthy, or lack the necessary funds for their sustenance and for their dependents. Gee, how about that, folks? Maybe we could learn a thing or two from Mexico's immigration law. For God's sakes. But no, here we are. We can't work with immigration authorities. No, we can't work with ICE. We got to make sure that we have the sanctuary cities in place, the safe spaces for them to go when they feel threatened by the law. And it's just so absurd what liberalism is doing to this country. It really is tragic. So again, if you think that my proposals are radical, first of all, I don't care. Second of all, take a look at Mexico's. By the way, I don't really think Mexico's are radical either. I think they're right on the money, to be honest. But anyway, folks, let me end with this. I know I've talked the entire night about immigration, and I'm going to finish up with something completely unrelated to immigration, but I wanted to talk about it. A video put together by Campus Reform. They went to the March for Our Lives rally, and they asked a bunch of protesters to explain what it is that they wanted. A lot of them said that they support banning assault weapons, but they weren't exactly sure what an assault weapon is. Listen to this audio, folks. This is from campusreform.org.
I'm Kevin Phillips with Campus Reform. Today we're in Washington, D.C. at the March for Our Lives protest. We're talking to attendees about what they want to see. And when they talk about banning assault weapons, do they know what assault weapons are? Let's find out. What sort of policy changes would you like to see enacted?
I think there needs to be a complete ban on assault weapons.
We need laws in place that are going to prevent people from walking into schools with assault rifles. Yeah, I think there definitely needs to be a ban on these assault rifles.
So any banning of any guns, I would be supportive of. To give up some rights to have
assault rifles. Let me stop. That idiot just said any ban on guns I would be supportive of. This is the kind of knee-jerk reaction that we have to fight back against. Any kind of ban I would be supportive of. That is lazy thinking. That is just utterly idiotic. And yet these people vote. Keep listening.
So it's like a higher priority than people losing their lives.
Assault weapons are not necessary for home defense. They're not necessary for the average citizen to have.
All right. I've said this many times. It's not the Bill of Necessities. It's not the Bill of Wants. It's the Bill of Rights. So, this argument, you don't need an assault rifle. You don't need an AR-15. It's not about needing something. It's about, I have the right to have it. That's what it's about. Keep listening.
What laws would you like to see? What kind of guns would you like to see banned?
Just assault rifles.
Who would support the
those
ban
assault
of
rifles
assault weapons moving forward? How many of you would support banning the sale of assault weapons moving forward? Okay, so 5 out of 5. For banning an assault weapon, do you know what an assault weapon is?
Yeah, it's assault weapon. It's like a I kind of do, but
what?
kind of don't.
Okay.
I kind of don't. How do you kind of do and kind of don't? Can someone explain that one to me?
It's just, well...
What is an assault weapon?
Can any of you tell me what an assault weapon is?
I guess. But assault weapons, like, does that sound safe to you?
Do you guys know what...
Oh, I love that one. Does that sound safe to you? The hell does that have to do with anything? Gee, so now we're going to start banning things and stripping constitutional rights away from people because something might sound scary? These liberals, I'm telling you, they are from like another planet.
Assault weapon is?
Yeah, honestly, if you're asking me, any gun that isn't a pistol should be banned.
The same amount of people die by assault weapons as do car crashes in a given year.
As what?
Do car crashes. It's a similar number.
Okay. It's not actually, but...
Or isn't it similar?
No, it's not. So assault weapons count for about 3% of gun deaths, and car crashes are about the leading cause.
Okay, I thought that was... But a lot of people die by gun deaths.
Do you guys know what an assault weapon is, though?
I mean, a phrase that comes to mind is like military-style weapon.
What an assault weapon is?
Of course it comes to mind because you've been indoctrinated. That's why. And folks, this is... I'm very serious about this. It's a very, very serious point. This demonstrates how effective indoctrination is, does it not? I mean, they hear assault rifle, and the first thing they think of is military-style weapon. Gee, who peddles that line over and over again? The liberal media and liberal politicians like Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. Keep listening.
Yeah, it's like an arm that, like a gun, for instance, that you can buy at a shop pretty easily. That is like can cause more.
So
deaths
embarrassing.
than, like one, I guess.
I consider any... I'm not even against just assault weapons. I'm pretty much against most guns.
I think that the Second Amendment at this time is outdated.
Outdated. There's the argument I was waiting for. Yep, it's outdated. The Second Amendment is outdated. You see, these people talk and they have absolutely no sense of history whatsoever. No sense of where we came from. No sense of, why we have the Second Amendment to begin with. None and yet they vote and they speak. I'm not saying they can't speak, by the way. It's just that they're embarrassing themselves.
Needs to be revisited.
I think it's something that was meant for a different time.
I think the Constitution in and of itself is something that's outdated. Times have changed, and I don't necessarily
Times have changed. If I had a nickel for every time I've heard that one, times have changed.
Second Amendment to begin with.
I don't think it applies in today's society.
I don't think it leads to anything good or productive or peaceful.
You should be able to protect yourself.
But
I don't.
Not with a rifle.
But not with like a rifle.
Well, why not? By the way, we're not talking about fully automatic rifles. We're talking about semi-automatic rifles. That's what the debate is over. And I am all for them. In case you didn't already know. So there's some young people for you. I've said it 1,000 times. I'll say it again. I really am embarrassed to be a millennial, folks. I just learned a few days ago that I am, by definition, a millennial. I'm, by definition, a millennial, and that's a terrifying thought. But I have a brain, folks. Rejoice. I have a brain. I can think for myself. Not a product of indoctrination. Hey, folks, I'll be back tomorrow. God bless. And God save this great nation.